For eons as a species, we've been obsessed with taking real-world high dynamic range scenes and reproducing them on low dynamic range display devices. The cave paintings in Lascaux, for example, artists have figured out mechanisms and technical tricks in being able to present scenes that embody extremely high dynamic range. The color palette being chosen to not just coincide with the emotional impact, but in many ways drive it.
Color is subliminal. It tells you what you're supposed to feel. It's emotionally driving where you're going.
The Night Watch by Rembrandt is one of the more amazing examples. Very, very low dynamic range, yet the artists were able to convey these incredibly rich scenes that look like there's dark shadows and bright highlights and stuff. Paint on a canvas or photographic print is only around 250 to 1 contrast ratio. That's the brightest thing to the darkest thing that you can see. 2,000 to 1 is the contrast ratio of motion pictures these days. The introduction of color, way back when, the film was black and white. Back in the early days when films were tinted, either the entire film print was given a sepia tone. Quite often they would have scores of people, mostly women, hand painting the actual film prints to put color on there. One of the earliest processes for color film was a very, very early two-strip process developed by Technicolor. It only had two colors. There was sort of an orangish red and a tealish greenish blue. The Technicolor three-strip process, where finally they were able to get the three colors, yellow, cyan, and magenta. Nothing looks like these movies. This is three-strip Technicolor raised to such a level in the art direction. But there were other color systems out there. And then color became ubiquitous, although slowly. I mean, even up until the 60s, the Academy Awards had an award for Best Black and White Cinematography and Best Color Cinematography.
My parents were really into movies. There was Once Upon a Time in the West. The music, the score of that, and the slow pace, and all of Claudia Cardinal and the beauty. It's just, allowing you to live in different realities. Or there was classical French movies like Jean de Florette, or there was Delicatessen. So yeah, I've been immersed at a very young age of, all the beautiful elements of movies.
I was, playing in bands in New York, and our drummer, he had tickets to a preview of this movie no one had known anything about, hadn't opened yet. It's called Star Wars, and asked me if I wanted to go. So I saw it 2 days before it opened. When the movie opened 2 days later, I grabbed everyone I knew and said, "You got to see this." And I dragged them all, and I just remember the end credits are rolling, and I said, "I know what I want to do with my life." It was another one of those never left that movie theater moments. At ILM, over the years, we worked on Spielberg projects and Zemeckis and Lucasfilm projects. In episode 1, there were a handful of shots that were shot on sort of a jerry-rigged video camera to see if it could be done and it could be intercut. But even just based on that, the decision was made to try to shoot episode 2 totally digital. But it had to still look like the Star Wars universe, right? So these were the early days of doing, film print emulations and stuff like that. But then it's sort of like there was this transition as the digital projectors made it out. The laboratories would have to make distribution media both for digital distribution and film distribution. In the early days of digital intermediate, early main example was Aviator. We got old prints, two-strip and three-strip Technicolor prints, so we were able to actually digitally recreate that analog photochemical process. Oh my God, this is going to happen on every movie now. Not the two-strip and three-strip Technicolor, but it's like every movie is going to be, I want to design that special custom look that's nowhere else.
Book of Eli, that was with the first red camera, and we were still going back to film. like when we were making prints. Back then, you would like simulate what the chemical does, right? You would create a lookup table to mimic the chemical of the bat so that you would color within that constraint. So I was pushing the envelope on all directions. There was a lot of pushing the boundaries for me and like pushing my game in terms of VFX while also pushing those tools.
Then slowly but surely, the digital stuff became, ubiquitous. So every movie theater has digital projectors now. In terms of acquisition, certainly mostly digital, but there are still a lot of people who shoot film, and it's still gorgeous. Even though it's in its infancy and there are technical issues, especially with the color reproduction and matching, I think that the virtual production and LED walls are really something spectacular. And I think that that's where we're going to see the next stuff. As the tools become better and more interactive, I think we're going to start to see that there'll be a lot more room for experimentation and creativity. That's why we go to movies, trust me.